1, 2. Check out. Problem is, my button is like all the way over here, and I have to be looking over here. I have to do this weird contorting to get around to my system. I need to be more like straight. It's over there. But oh well. That's for me to figure out. Worked for me for years, and for some reason now it's actually more awkward for me. But here we are. Welcome to the show. My name is Mike, and if you're here looking for action, adventure, romance, it's probably not the show for you. But if you're looking to get help from some of those crazy boudoir photographers out there, I feel you. You're in the right place. Sit down, grab a cool beverage. And today here it's like 97 degrees outside. So apparently now summer in the Northeast is basically 100 degrees every single day. I don't know what that is in Celsius, but it's pretty hot. Actually, let me do a quick convert. 100 F to Celsius. Almost 38. So for you non-Fahrenheit people, this whole summer has been basically at 38 Celsius or above. It's like every day. Go global warming. And here I am, like out again in the forest this morning, trudging around like a maniac, doing my exercise, like sweating bullets, just walking through. It's like, ooh, it's a workout. But I like it, because I'm a crazy person. I like it in the hot like that, more so than it's just comfortable. So now I came back, took a shower, invigorated, ready to go, drinking my seltzer, my cool beverage. I'm here to answer a question. That's what I do. So today we have another good question we're going to get into. Again, in our new format of shorter, denser, action-packed shows. We're going to try to do one per week, answering questions. And as always, if you have a question, you can always send me an email. If you're watching this on YouTube, just leave a comment below the video, and we'll put you in line for a future show. A lot of these come through my email, through my website, from inquiries and stuff like that. So there's always questions. People think, you know, what else? There's always a new question. I've been doing this for 15 years. People always have questions. So, and again, our purpose is there's so much non-information out there. We want women to go in and have a safe, fun experience, not overpay, not wind up with some photographer that doesn't quite go the way that they think it would. We want it to be safe, and we want women to make educated choices when they choose their women's photographer, because let's face it, boudoir is fun. Choosing photographer, not so easy. It's craziness out there. So we're here to help answer some questions so you can make smart choices and have fun during your boudoir session, even though it's like 97 degrees outside. Oof. That's how it goes. How the summer goes. So another interesting question today. And so we're going to get into this a bit. And this is talking more about erotic photography, which is a growing thing. It's been around for a while. So these questions always pop up. And so this is an interesting question. We'll get into this so we can get going. And the question that came in for the show, let me bring it up, is how do boudoir photographers usually handle requests that lean more towards the erotic side? I want to make sure my ideas fit in with the usual scope of these sessions. And so this is actually a pretty common question, and it applies to all different styles of boudoir photography. And then the key here, or what you have to be aware of as someone who's searching for a woman's photographer, is that every photographer is different. You just need to get this idea out of your head that all photographers are the same. You would not say all restaurants are the same. You would not say all hotels are the same. Everything, all different. Just photographers are all very, very different. Kitchen nightmares, so one photographer is going to have an answer very different than another. So essentially, for women who want to do work that leans more towards the erotic side, for some photographers, this is not going to be a big deal. They're comfortable doing this. There may be some lines there that they don't want to cross, but there are other women's photographers that are more about empowerment and beauty, and they're really not so comfortable crossing a certain line and doing a certain type of material, and that's okay. And the key is, if you have something very specific that you want to do, it's all about taking the time and the energy to find the right photographer for the style of work that you want to do. So on your part, it's going to take a little bit of effort and work to do, and as I always say, your search should start online, because if you're looking for someone who's working in more erotic photos, some photographers will have that right out front on their website. I do work at erotica or whatever, that style of photo. They will have a page dedicated to that. You can look at the style of photos that they're doing, make sure it's kind of what you wanted to create is in line with what you see, and then I would take it that next step. However, a little bit of maybe going too deep in the weeds here, but not all photographers who do erotic photos advertise this too. So this is where this can get a little bit tricky. Putting work like that on your website sometimes draws attention from people you don't want. So there may be a group of photographers who will do stuff like that. They just don't have it on their website because they don't want to deal with the weird inquiries sometimes that come with that type of material that's on there. Trust me, I know, and I get it. So sometimes, even though, and this is why this is tricky, you don't see it, someone may do that kind of work, but often you'll see it advertised, or they may refer to it in their website. And also what's going on in the world of photos, why this may be a little bit tougher to see, is just because of Google. Google now, as they're getting into their image recognition, is, all this AI stuff that's going on. They've scanned websites for years, and now they scan images. And if Google sees photos of a woman, all the alarms go off in Google. You are a violator. Google has determined that women's bodies are offensive, despite the context. And who knows if they're going to start punishing websites and stuff like that. So some photographers may not show erotic type work again because they don't want to be penalized by Google. So it gets a little complicated. And there goes my voice, and we've only been talking for a few minutes. So this can be a little bit more challenging. And as I said, you may have to reach out to the photographer, email them and say, hey, this is the style of work I want to do. And, do you have anything like that? They may have a private gallery. They may say, yeah, no problem. And if they say, not my thing, that's fine. You just go on to the next photographer. But a lot of people that I found will tend to want to bypass this step. And the reason being, I think it is just not super typical for a woman to ask up front and talk about explicit types of things. In my experience, it is something that they may have an intention of doing. They're kind of keeping it quiet, and then they'll wait till they get into their session and they'll be like, oh yeah, now I feel comfortable. I like the photographer. Things are going well. By the way, do you mind if I and do these type of things in my photo? It may work out, but it also may not, like I said, because you don't want to get into a session, pay money, start going through a photo session, and it turns out that the photographer is like, yeah, it's not really something I'm comfortable doing. And that's a big part of the reason that you went there to produce those kind of images. And they're like, yeah, it's not really for me. At that point, it's too late. So yeah, it's not always comfortable for every woman to address this up front, but as uncomfortable, and you don't have to get explicit with your inquiry. You could just be vague. Oh, thinking of more erotic for my husband or my partner or whatever the case may be. You don't have to get super into detail, but at least make sure and talk about that that's something that photographer is doing. And then also, my suggestion is, now I don't know how to say this without it sounding weird, but I'll go ahead. You know, erotic is such a relative term. It's, you know, for one person's erotic, maybe just standing around in pajamas. Another person's erotic, maybe just things, and you know, so it's not one thing to all people. And I would say, if your version of the erotic, and not that this is wrong, I'm giving you the hand to the camera, but if your version of that starts to skew towards the more extreme, definitely go ahead and, you know, chat with the person, because you do not want to show up with your gear, whatever erotic gear you're towing along with you, and again, find out that this is something this photographer doesn't want any part of. You want to go somewhere where it's a comfortable environment, supportive environment, so you can do what you want to do and get the photos that you want and have a pleasant experience. So it can get tricky. It's a little bit more work. And just to recap, you know, not all photographers are comfortable doing that kind of work. Not all photographers may display that type of work on their website, but they may be okay with it. So if this is your intent, which is really a growing type of thing in the world of photography, if you don't see it, reach out, get an answer. And if not, that person doesn't want to do it, simply move on. And it may take a little bit more work to find the person that may want to accommodate you, that you get along with, and you know, you want to find someone that sort of is you're vibing with and who will be able to do the type of photos that you want to do. So that's a good question. I appreciate you sending that in today. It's complicated. Like I said, this is why women's photography gets complicated, because it's not always so straightforward. You don't want to wind up with a photographer, even though they may be a nice person, but not really down with doing the kind of photos you want to do. And then you're like a little bummed, like sort of afterwards. So a little bit of work. That way you can help get what you want. It's well worth it. Have a great experience. And, you know, this is why we're here, answering these questions. So appreciate sending that question in. And we're going to try to do this weekly, or at least bi-weekly, with these shorter type of shows. You can see them on wherever your favorite podcasts are. It's also available on video on YouTube. You could also watch it on video on Spotify. And so any questions you may have, just reach out to me via email, or, you know, just leave a comment if you're on the YouTube, and I'll see it, and we can put your question in a future episode. So I want to appreciate everybody for tuning in today, and have a good day. Stay inside the air conditioning, and I will talk to you next week. Thanks. See ya.